Yo, peace and welcome to the Boom Bap Kingdom. We're here and we're super chilling, and I hope you guys are chilling too. I took some time off because it's graduation season where I live. My daughter just graduated law school with her law degree. So we were going, partying, celebrating, all that stuff. So super duper big BBK salute to my baby girl for getting that law degree. She's actually in New York studying for the bar as we speak. So I'm super proud of her, and I wanted to get back in the lab and show you guys. Some of you may have stumbled across this, maybe not. If not, you're here and we're gonna build about it. A lot of people are chasing that analog tape sound. This can be done through plugins, etc. Or if you're fortunate enough, you may have a good cassette deck, or maybe you have a reel-to-reel. I am fortunate enough where I do have a reel-to-reel. However, for some of us who don't, there is a new product out. It is in beta. It is called Tape 16, and I've been playing around with it, and I have to say I like it a lot. There are some pros and there are some cons. Tape 16 is different from, say, a VST plugin. It is a total standalone DAW that emulates multi-track tape recording. I think it is pretty dope. It is very limited in a way that is good because it creates the workflow that we had when we recorded directly to multi-track tape. Just so people understand, recording the tape, it's not just the sound that gives you an advantage or an edge or whatever you think tape does to music. The sound of tape is a thing, and that is very true. You get saturation and warmth and tape hiss and punch and all of those things. But there is a bigger part of recording to tape that some people miss the point on, and that is a limited amount of space, limited amount of, say, undos, because there really is no such thing as undo on tape. If you record a take and that record is not a good take, guess what you're doing? You're recording that take over from scratch, from the start to finish, etc. Punching in on tape was very limited back in the days. It didn't sound very clean like it does in the digital world. So it's not something you really wanted to have to do. When you went to the studio back in the days, you really wanted to memorize your lines, your rhymes, song, whatever it was. Not too many people were reading these things off paper. You used your paper, as a guide, but for the most part, you had everything memorized because you really didn't want to have to do multiple takes. Tape was different. You had to wait for the tape to rewind and get back into place and this and that and the third. And back in the days, studio time was money. It's different when you have it at home and you can just power it up and do your own thing. But if you go to a recording studio to record, you already know you're paying an hourly rate. And back then, it was very expensive to go to a good recording studio. Now we have Tape 16. I've been messing around with it. The thing that's cool about Tape 16 is you could multi-track your song. So you can track out, if you have your music, your beat going out of individual outs, you can track everything out or you could do a typical 2-track pan left, pan right, and save these other tracks for vocals. Because you only get 16, you have to think about what you want to do. So I just threw a beat on here from Push, and I was going through some of the settings and how that stuff sounds. So let's check it out. If I play the beat, we have these settings like wow and flutter, and you can hear how wow is affecting the beat. We can hear how the flutter affects the beat. This stuff's pretty good. We can set rates on how much that affects the beat or not. I just kept it at the halfway point for this. Saturation in this DAW, what I noticed with saturation is it really just adds highs or lows to the track. So if we play and we add saturation, you can hear how it adds high frequency. Right? So you have your bias align, tape age, all of these things affect your song, but it's very subtle. It's not like overt. I love that it scrubs the tape head when you do a rewind. So we're rewinding, and it's very realistic. You know, I have to say, in terms of the workflow and the feel. It has a tape age, as you can see here. And then tape damage, right? Let's turn all this up. And you see how it adds some phasing, some low frequency, very interesting. And now if we check out this last row here, it does have some other settings here, volume, speed, and feedback. Let's check that out. So you can hear how this is all the way turned up, so you can hear the effect, and we can mess with this. Now, I like this a lot. You can create those tape reverbs, pretty dope. Now, what's also cool is you can actually insert plugins into these tracks. One takeaway though is if you select this PFX, that's going to print that effect to tape, so it'll be permanent. There's no undo. If you do MFX, then you can make alterations and things of that nature. So this is pretty cool. It's pretty straightforward. You have your transport. There is a punch in, punch out. You have your shortcuts, erase. You can import audio. You have your audio input and output. This is where you set up your interface. Very cool stuff. You have MIDI. What I'd like to see is MIDI learn. I would really love to map my DAW controller to these controls. This is your plugins button where you can pull up your plugins and you can insert these plugins, you know, whatever you have on your computer, you can insert those into tracks if you want to. So I think that is super dope. And then you have your preferences here if you want full screen, etc., etc. Your new tape, last tape, etc. This is really, really dope. You can bounce tracks, and this is how you save your stuff. You have a tape library. You can do a new tape, and what's also cool is you can tell it the length of the tape in minutes, because that's really how reel-to-reel tape works. It works in minutes or feet, you know, the actual length of the tape, and the length of the tape corresponds to minutes, how long that tape will be. You also get different tape speeds, which is really cool. This would be a great tool for sound design. That is really how I would leverage this if I were to use it. So all in all, I think this is a really dope tool, Tape 16. You guys should go check that out. And with that, I'll leave you with a BBK salute. Peace.